This is my fan. Get it? Fan. What I'm doing? Okay, I'll stop. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Audrey and this is Audrey Curates. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hi, my name is Audrey, as I said a few seconds ago. If you're into museums, conservation, writing, anything Maltese, etc, please consider subscribing. I'm 10 subscribers away from 100 subscribers, and then I can perhaps change the tricky URL you see at the top there. So today is Wednesday, and for Wednesday I usually do writing content. So today I'm going to give you an insight of what I do when I come up with a concept for a play and how I go about starting the process of actually writing the play. Let's start. Don't know what that was, but I hope I can insert a transition here. If not, here's a manual one. Let's go. When I start thinking of a concept, or as thinking of something to go on stage, not on film, I'll do film later on this month, I tend to start researching titles, for example, or I start researching the genre, so that I see that my concept is not me plagiarizing someone else's idea. Obviously nowadays there is a lot of content, so we tend to just consume content and then forget where we saw it. So it's very easy nowadays to plagiarize or copy someone else's idea. So for me personally, I start researching the genre and seeing what has been done or what stories have been done around the concept I have, and I start from that. If I see that there is nothing, or else there's something but it hasn't been explored yet, I start working on the concept. I also do that kind of research when it comes to titles. I hate titling my work. I hate titles. Titles are a pain in my... You know what I was going to say. So when you have a concept and when you have a story, you need to see what's out there. If you see stuff that is out there, maybe you need to focus more on your topic, or else widen it a little bit, because you can find topics that maybe they haven't been done before, or as they have been done but they're very specific and focused and things like that. So that is when it comes to your concept and idea. Then we move on to other types of research. So nowadays it's very easy to go online and access a performance. For example, during quarantine, when COVID hit, we got to see some Lloyd Webber performances online on YouTube, as well as the National Theatre ones. So I managed to get to see a few of them. And that is where I start looking at how the directors work and how they apply the script to a stage. So for example, when it comes to One Man and Two Governors, which is an old script, I saw it in a modern context. Even Jane Eyre, for example, and Coriolanus. You see this relationship between old theatre and the new contemporary theatre, and some of them have been so eye-opening in terms of what you can do on a stage, which is great for us as writers because we get a lot of ideas. And that is my next point. If you can, obviously if you're writing stage plays, you need to experience some yourself. So if you can, obviously nowadays it's very hard to go to theatre, but if you have access to a little bit of theatre near you, make sure you go to see what is happening. Even nowadays we're seeing a mix of live and online, so how do they adapt to that sort of medium? And it's very good to see what is actually happening nowadays. Obviously I'm not saying that you need to go see every play, every stage play. It needs to play into your interests as well, into your genre. If you're writing thrillers, obviously you're going to favor thrillers over romance, etc. For example, I don't necessarily like Shakespeare and I tune off. When I go to theaters and watch stage plays, it is very hard to enjoy them because a writer and creative myself, I tend to go on the critical and reflective elements when it comes to seeing a play. Obviously, I tend to go to performances and just enjoy them, but that is when I need to tune off and mute the rest of the world. So it is a very good exercise to go and see what is happening at the moment. This would be an exercise for you as a writer to see what works on stage, what doesn't, what looks good and what looks bad, and you see this whole other world that you do not necessarily copy what is happening, but then again you see how lighting, for example, works on an element. What I'm thinking of is, for example, the Les Miserables Revolve, which is non-existent anymore because they changed it. So how did they light the actors as they went along the revolve? And for example, music, how did they produce ambient sound to go about the play? So you start noticing these kinds of things. You start to see the machine working. Then the third point I'm going to say is, if you see anything online, like for example Hamilton, we had it this summer, and we had the National Theatre, and we also had Andrew Lloyd Webber's performances. You need to start watching those kinds of performances to start learning. So for example, when there was the National Theatre and some performances in Maltese as well that were being aired by Teatru Malta, I started writing down what I like and what I didn't. This is an exercise of reflection for you as a writer to see what you think you like in the performance, and what I didn't like as a creative. And then you need to be a bit more critical when it comes to seeing these performances. So what you would have done differently, or what particular element did you like? Why did you like it? What were the elements that you thought that were, for example, needed more direction, or needed more writing, or needed more clarification, or different tone, etc, etc. So here what I'm saying is that the writer becomes somewhat a director as well, because obviously when you're writing yourself, you need to know perhaps how to guide a director in terms of what you want to see on stage, or else you're the director yourself. So you need to be aware of what is happening on stage, what you like, what you don't like, and being critical but also reflective. And for example, I have here like this. It's a normal notepad, and I just started. This was a month or two after I started watching these performances, and I thought to start writing them down for me to actually know what I like, what I don't like, and obviously find them every time I go back to research or else look up a new idea. So for example, let's take Jesus Christ Superstar. So when Andrew Lloyd Webber aired Jesus Christ Superstar, which was, I believe, the Birmingham live performance, I honestly enjoyed it so much that I ended up binge watching it for the next few weeks. And what I really liked about it is they adapted a story which has been told so many times, but they adapted it into a rock concert, and obviously the staging was modern, and they even adapted the story into a modern world. What I liked the most about it is how they adapted it to modern times, and I loved it because it's an old story. It's told in so many ways, and in Malta, of course, we get the traditional Passion of Christ, but in this adaptation you're seeing a modern version of it. You get the cross, you get the Passion, but you're seeing it with a different view. So they're taking issues from the modern world and adapting it to, and in sort of intermixing it with the story of the Passion of Christ, which honestly I loved so much. I don't think I had any criticisms, which, knowing me, that doesn't sit well, but the only things I wrote here is loved the adaptation and the staging is great, loved the lights as the cross. So in this particular section, and if I find it, I'll insert an image or a video of it playing, but I don't want to get copyrighted, so it's probably going to be an image. The cross was made up of the lighting rigs, which honestly I never thought of it before. And it's such a cool concept when it comes to staging that I was like, oh wow, like it was something I never thought of before. But obviously they have the budget for it. I wouldn't necessarily do it in my stage plays because I will never put someone on a cross, but it's good to see this sort of adaptation. I also watched Jane Eyre, and what I wrote for the Jane Eyre one was, love the staging and how the cycle of Jane Eyre's life is shown. So, and these I remember specific moments from the play, and that's how impactful this was. So for example, in the beginning they're obviously saying Jane Eyre's story, and the actress which was playing Jane, she started crying like an infant, and then obviously metamorphosing into a teenager, and then obviously an adult. And I loved how the director did that in such a way that it didn't show, but then again the audience understood what was happening. The staging was very modern, and obviously from one scene change to another they just went up a ladder or up a staircase, or moved from one stage to the other. The actors, the cast was very small, and they interchanged the many characters that the story has. I love the physical theater in it, and how the director managed to ask the actors to run on the spot to symbolize a train moving or time passing by, which was great. And these exercises help us as a writer because obviously we're learning from other people, but not necessarily plagiarizing it. For example, in my last play, I had a sequence where the actors had to freeze, a blackout happens, they change, and when the lights come up, they freeze again. In my play, I wanted something different and something that keeps the audience going and going and going, like, what is going to happen now? What is going to happen now? What is going to happen now? And that is the same as I said before. It's an exercise in reflections, but obviously you're not seeing it live, you're not having the same reaction as you would have in a theater, but you're seeing it online, and you have the ability to rewind, rewatch, and analyze scene by scene what has happened. And yes, as soon as I finish that process, obviously the last process, the second and third aspects I mentioned, you do them in your own time, and you don't necessarily do them every time you have to do a play or you have to write a play, but it's always nice to go back to these performances and see what you liked and what you didn't like, so that you can perhaps avoid it when you're writing a play and things like that. So that is it from my end. I hope you liked this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. Leave down in the comments your favorite stage play. I'll see you next Friday. In the meantime, have a nice day, afternoon and evening, and good night, and I will see you next Friday. I said that. I'm off. Bye. And let me know in the comments down below what, oh my god, I can't remember. I'm tired. If you like this video, so I'm tired. Oh my god. Okay.